Welcome to episode number one of Fueling Success, an Athlete Story, where we talk with Division I professional athletes about their stories and what they did to get to that level. For the inaugural episode, I want to bring on a special guest who is not only a Division I softball player at Ball State University, but she also happens to do incredible work as my intern here at Full Circle Sports Nutrition, Kaitlyn Mathews. Welcome to the show, Kaitlyn.
Hi, thank you, Derek. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for that really nice intro. So I'm excited.
Of course. Yeah. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Kaitlyn. I grew up in Paris, Illinois. It's just a little town in South Central Illinois. It's not by Chicago. That's what everyone always asks first. But so I grew up with my family close by, and they were there for every moment, and I'm just so blessed to have them. And I owe literally everything to them. So yeah, I grew up in Paris, went to Paris High School. I graduated in 2020, so the COVID year, or I fake graduated in 2020. So
I never thought about that.
yeah, I know. So anyway, now, like you said, I go to Ball State University. I'm a third year, so a junior, and I play softball here. I'm an outfielder. Bat left-handed and throw right-handed. And I'm also a pre-dietetics major with a minor in public health. So yeah, and then when I'm not playing softball, I like to, just read. I like to cook and bake, go to coffee shops, hang out with my roommates and teammates. And yeah, that's pretty much me.
So graduated in 2020. So starting that, do you get the COVID year for softball or no?
I actually don't. So
Okay.
yeah, the age above me gets a COVID year,
Okay.
but my class just missed it. So
Okay. Yeah, because I think it varies by season, right? Because I know football players that played in the fall of 2020, and I think even basketball players that year, they got a COVID year, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Winter and fall sports, I believe I'll have one, and then spring, we don't. So
Gotcha. No, there. Okay, so that makes more sense then. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell me a little bit. When did you start? Like, what age did you start playing softball
well, I started playing softball. I started playing, T-ball and rec league when I was probably like 4 or 5, and then travel softball when I was 6. I played for a 10 and under team, and I was just like this tiny little thing, and everyone was like 10 and 11, and just they looked so huge to me. And yeah, I did my best. I was the little runt on the team, but so yeah, ever since then I've grown up playing travel softball and school softball. So I think that makes like 15 years of playing. So
Wait, so how old are you again when you did the U10 to U11?
I was 6 on the team. It was right before I turned 7. So
right. Okay. So you're one of you hear that a lot, and like it's interesting with a lot of pro athletes, even D1 athletes, you hear about that as far as like they all played up a level. Now was that just because like you were too good at 6 years or older to play?
Honestly, it was just, I guess I was like kind of just at that point, it's not even about skill. Like it's just about having athleticism at that age. Like, so I was like, I guess I was just like pretty athletic and able to kind of keep up with the older girls. And it wasn't even like my family was never like, oh, like she's gonna play in college, like at that age. Like it was never that serious. It was just something fun. And so, yeah, I just played up with that age level because they were the only that was the only age level in my town. So that's just who I played with.
Yeah, because you hear about that a lot. Like so as a soccer player, Josie Altidore, and I think it was when he was 5 years old, he was forced to play with the 8-year-olds, and like forced because the parents of the other 5-year-olds were complaining, because I'm not sure if you know who he is, but he's a strong dude, and he was just big from the get-go, and the other 5-year-old parents were like, no, like he's not playing with our kids. So we had to play the 8-year-old. So, but you see that you always see these players like playing up at age, and you think it's a disadvantage because you're smaller, but it obviously helped you in the long run to play at that level. Yeah. So so obviously it sounds like from a young age you knew softball was your sport. Did you play any other sports growing up?
Yeah. So I was in gymnastics before I ever even played softball. So I joined gymnastics when I was like 4, I believe, and I really enjoyed that. I would say I was mainly focused on gymnastics until kind of the typical age when most girls kind of stop doing it, like right before puberty. Like it just moving your body in that way gets so much harder for a lot of girls. So I quit and focused on other sports. But so yeah, it was gymnastics until I got to middle school, gymnastics and softball. And then in middle school, I played volleyball, and then I did cheerleading, and then softball, and then I did track in middle school. And then I got to high school, and it was just volleyball, softball, and cheerleading. Then I quit volleyball and joined tennis. So ultimately in high school, it was tennis, softball, and cheerleading.
Okay, so you did a lot of sports in high school, and then did you do all three of those throughout senior year? Or did you ever at one point just be like, softball's it?
No, yeah, I did all of them throughout throughout all of high school. And I knew that I wanted to play softball in college from a pretty young age. So that was always my main sport. But I just really love doing all of the other sports too. Like cheerleading, I did like competitive cheerleading, and I
Okay.
love that so much. That's the hardest sport I've ever done. It's harder than softball. I really miss it. But and then tennis, that was just kind of like my fun sport. Tennis was. So
Tennis. Okay.
yeah.
All right, it's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Cause you always see both sides of it, right? Like some people are like, no, you should focus on this sport. If you want to go to
Hmm.
college for that sport, focus on that because you got to play it year round.
Hmm.
Whereas other people are like, no, one, you're a kid, have fun, play as many
Hmm.
sports as possible, enjoy it. And also, sometimes playing other sports can help with that. Like, did you find that tennis or even cheerleading helped you as a softball player?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I Tennis, I think it definitely helps with agility and like that hand-eye coordination that is so important. And cheerleading, it just it gave me a lot of, I feel like, emotional preparation because sometimes I'll be at hard practices and I'm like, this is hard, but like doing a full out cheer routine, it would be harder than this. Like, and it's just like, I don't know, it's emotionally and mentally really hard. And I think a lot of people just don't realize how challenging it is. But yeah, I really enjoyed my time cheering. So
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting what you said about tennis too, because you would think it's similar. You're hitting a ball, but
mhm.
tennis is more restraint. Like I remember when I was a kid, because I played baseball when I was younger, and my grandpa was teaching me tennis, and I was like 8, 9 years old maybe, and
Mhm.
I was just trying to hit the ball as hard as I could. Like
Oh yeah,
I was trying to hit it over the fence behind the court, and I'm like, he's like, no, this isn't baseball. I'm like, okay.
yeah, my
It's
backhand, like I'm left-handed, so my backhand, I would just swing, and my coach is like, "You're not swinging a bat. You have to calm down." Because I was like swinging the racket like I was swinging a softball bat, so that took some adjustment. But
Yeah. So that's actually an interesting question I have because you said you throw righty, but you hit lefty. Now,
mhm.
is that just you started playing softball and you just started hitting lefty, or was it, hey, I'm fast, let's become a slap hitter?
Yeah, that's what happened. So that's kind of a common thing that happens with like the faster girls. So I hit right-handed until I was about 11, and then I decided to switch to left-handed so I thought I could slap more. And I kind of grew out of it. And I would say by the time I hit like age 13, 14, I just completely didn't slap anymore. And I was just hitting
Uh,
left-handed. So yeah. But then actually it's funny because I get to college and I'm only a left-handed hitter. Like slapping's not in my regimen. Like I'm not even thinking about it. And at the end of my end of the year meeting, my freshman year, my coach was like, I really would like you to pick up slapping just to have it in your back pocket. And I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't slapped since I was 11. So I had to relearn that. But now I'm a slapper and hitter again. So been a
that's
journey.
there are a lot of bizarre things about that. Like one, just hey, let's just pick up slap hitting at this one
I
point,
know.
and the fact that like you were 11, like 11's not. I mean, it's young, but it's not young. And
Right.
you're just like, hey, I'm gonna switch sides of the plate. Like you're already in puberty, like you're grown or you're growing,
Hmm.
and you're like, I'm gonna switch sides. And it, as bizarre as that's so bizarre. And what it really shows is just the incredible talent that you need to play at a high level, right? Like
Hmm.
obviously you worked incredibly hard to become a D1 softball player, but you had this talent I would say you had this talent all along, but you had this potential
Yeah.
all along. It was there, right?
Hmm.
Switching from righty to lefty just on a whim at
Yeah.
11 years old, it takes a lot of skill. So that's really
Hmm.
impressive out there. And it shows versatility. So no, that's really cool that you can just swap like that. um,
Yeah.
but it's good. Yeah. And you actually know we asked that. Yeah. So obviously playing a lot of sports, you were very, very busy, I'm sure, because you had tennis, you had cheerleading, softball was year round, right? So
Yeah.
you're, so obviously very good time management. I can see that, with you doing work for me on top of being a
Yeah.
full-time student and a science major plus a D1 athlete, yet you still find time to, do the work that I need you to do. Your time management is impeccable. And I'm sure you learned that from a young age, but I think a lot of listeners here, a lot of the young listeners really could benefit from hearing about that. Like, cause I think that's a skill that they need to have. So is there anything you could talk to that, like maybe, any tricks you have with that time management or just what you did to help?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say the biggest trick is not not falling victim to thinking that you have no time, because the thing is you do. Like, I know that athletes are very busy, and we have a bunch of activities, a bunch of school going on, but except for certain exceptions, like you do have time. It's about priorities. And something that I always like to say is, if you look at your screen time, like, you have time. Like, you probably are spending a few hours on your phone, and you could have taken that time to, get half an assignment done, or, prep your lunch for tomorrow, because you won't have time to eat lunch between class and practice. It's just, it just kind of goes into, like, one of my main philosophies is, like, just take life by the reins. Like, don't let it control you, because if you take control of your time and use your time to your advantage, that's really the trick. It's just, don't fall victim, don't make excuses for yourself, is my, biggest advice.
Do you time block at all? Or you kind of just be like, hey, I have a few minutes here, let me get this done?
Yeah, I kind of try to go, like, try to stick to kind of a time block routine, sort of. So in the morning, if I have some time before class, I'll maybe sit down and get some stuff done, and then before practice I will too. But it's kind of like hit or miss. Like, the routine's a little bit different every day, but once I'm home from practice during the evening, I do try to, like, really get in some time. So I'll try to stick to, like, an hour for studying chem, and then I'll put in an hour of doing a graphic for you, or doing some kind of work for you. So I'll stick to kind of a time blocking routine, but mainly it's just making a list of the most important things you need to get done soonest, and then, like, kind of down the priority list. So,
Mhm.
the things you really need to focus on, and then down to the things that can kind of wait. So
Mhm. Yeah, the full circle nutrition stuff's at the bottom right now.
yeah,
No, yeah,
sometimes.
no. But I haven't taught, like, with you, other interns I've had in the past, I always say, your school comes first, right? And I even
Yeah.
said, like, when you have finals, right? Don't do any
Mhm.
work for me that week. Go do
Yeah.
finals, right? Like, you got to prioritize that stuff, and that's what it comes down to. Is, I think, the prioritizing, instead of looking at, oh, I have all this stuff to do. No,
Mhm.
what's important? What do I need to do today? What can
Mhm.
get done later? Like, I was really impressed when you sent me the what I do in a day video for me to post,
Yeah.
and you had two work. You had a lift in the morning, you had practice in the afternoon, plus you went before practice to do extra work because it was just
Mhm.
defensive practice. To do that, plus you had classes, plus a lab. You cooked your meals. You went to the store, and then somehow still, like, had time to, like, fold laundry or something like that. I have
Yeah.
laundry that takes like 2 weeks to fold, right? Like, it's just incredible. Like, and you see this with a lot of D1 athletes, and it just shows that, right, to become a D1 athlete, it's not just skill and hard work. There is a lot of
Mhm.
maturity
Yeah.
that comes into play. And I see that. I see a lot of athletes fizzle out, and even athletes that message me, whether they email me or DM me, and like, oh, I really want to play at this level, or, this and that. And I can kind of tell from that message how serious they are about it, how, or if they really have a good shot. Even
Mhm.
without looking at them play, because if they're not putting thought into a message, right, or if they're just, whatever, like,
Mhm.
it's, you could tell they're just not really serious about it. Whereas I'll get DMs, it's, hi Derek, my name is this, I play this sport, this age, I'm looking for help with this. Very clear cut, very organized in a
Right.
message. And I can tell those athletes are going somewhere because
Yeah.
they understand it, they're mature, they're responsible. And it's just,
Mhm.
it's, everyone thinks I'm a great football player, I'm going places, or I'm a good softball player, I'm
Mhm.
going places. No, there's more to it for sure.
Yeah.
So kind of something else I wanted to ask. Now, this
Mhm.
is going to be unique because you're also a dietetics major, but
Mhm.
so you probably thought about this a little bit more. But what is something from a nutrition standpoint that you've learned as a D1 athlete that you wish you maybe had known or that you've done when you were a younger athlete?
Oh gosh, there's a lot, but
Hey, name them all this time.
it somewhat relates to nutrition, somewhat doesn't. But I guess like what you look like is not what makes you a good athlete. Like I was so focused on, I have to look the part. Like I've got to be shredded. I've got to, run and lift and like eat right so that I can, I have to look athletic and look strong. And that is just not what being an athlete is about. And it's not what makes you a good performer. And it took me a while to learn that. I would say going into college was definitely a rocky time with my relationship with food. And but I thought I was doing the right thing. Like I feel like a lot of female athletes go through this, like being restrictive and not under fueling, but they think it's, the right thing to do because like everyone always idolizes losing weight and looking shredded and whatnot. But once I finally realized that, fueling yourself properly, and once I started to eat more, I saw an automatic correlation in my performance, like, and I just felt so much better. And I just wish that I could tell not only my younger self, but other female athletes everywhere that it is not about how you look. It's so much more than that.
And it's not even the female athletes, actually.
Right.
It's
Yeah. I keep
right. No,
saying
no, no, no,
female.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
know. Well, because
Any
the
athlete.
stereotype, yeah, the stereotype used to be that it was just like only female athletes care about how they look, and that's kind of what
Yeah.
it, because that's what it used to be. But more and more now, because of social media, because
Hmm.
of bodybuilding having such a
Hmm.
big presence, it's affecting male athletes more
Absolutely. Yeah.
now than it was, 5-10 years ago. It was a little bit less, right? Like, when I played, I was concerned about body image because I was super skinny and like I just wanted to get
Yeah.
bigger more than anything. And now more and more, it's I want to look ripped, or I'll get like I'm a soccer player. How do I get a six pack? And that's it. It's
Hmm.
because they think that it's not because they want a six pack to look good. It's that they think they need that six pack in order to be a great soccer player. And so it's a really big message right there, because a lot of young athletes need to understand that yeah, you don't need to look a certain way. And yes, a lot of high level athletes look great and they look like, and they're in great shape and they might have six pack, they might be ripped, but they did not train for that or eat to get that six pack. It's a byproduct of all their hard work and genetics. So
Right.
it can happen as a result, but when you strive for that, if you strive for a certain body fat percentage, that's when you start to fail. So that's a great message. Yeah,
Hmm.
as you start to eat more and just not care so much about how you look,
Hmm.
more so eat for your performance, that's when you became a better athlete.
Hmm.
That's
And then another
really
note on
important.
top of that, I just want to say is
Yeah.
comparing yourself to others. Like you talked about, seeing the athletes who do have the six packs and are shredded or whatever, and their appearance did not tell the full story. Like they could be under fueling, getting injured all the time. They could feel terrible at practice because they're not eating enough. Like it's just there's so much that we don't know, and you just can't base everything off of looks and compare yourself. That's just something else I've learned.
Big time. Yeah. It's, I get that a lot with athletes. Like, and this actually is really more common with female athletes, but it'll be like, oh, like this girl on my team, she's super skinny and like she says she doesn't eat
Hmm.
all day, but she seems to be performing well. Or, how come I can't, if I eat like that, I lose my period and I get injured. And again,
Hmm.
you don't know the full story. She might be playing through an injury, the other girl, right? You
Right.
don't know. Maybe she said she's not eating all day and then she's binging at night.
Hmm.
And she
Exactly.
does other stuff. Maybe she's lying about how much she eats, right? Like you don't know the picture. And again, everyone is different. And that's the
Hmm.
important part is, yeah, you're right. Don't compare yourself to others. Just, um, yeah, be healthy, focus on yourself, which
Hmm.
actually brings up another good question. Now we talk about underfueling, and underfueling can cause injuries. Have you ever had any significant injury either throughout high school or college?
Um, so I've been pretty lucky so far, knock on
Okay.
wood, that I haven't had any super big injuries. I would say my biggest injury is a result of underfueling my freshman year. So my freshman year when we came in, it was right off of lockdown and COVID, and I was just
Right.
constantly working out, constantly under eating, and thinking it was what I needed to be doing. I've told the story, but anyway, so before Christmas break, I actually hurt my back pretty bad while we were maxing out on front squat, and I still don't really know exactly what happened. It just, I don't know if I threw something out, but anyway, I went to PT and, chiropractors and doctors and everything. And I worked on my core stability a lot and, kind of strengthened it. But the thing that really stuck out to me about this injury, like looking back now, I know that the reason is one of the reasons is that I was overtraining and not eating enough, and I was lifting weight that was just simply too heavy for me. I didn't have the core strength. I didn't have the muscle strength to. So anyway, I got through that injury. But what sticks out to me is no one really ever mentioned anything about, like under fueling or not fueling properly, which I expect because, that's not their specialty. But it just goes to show how important sports dietitians like can be for, sports programs, and how important sports nutrition is for your performance. Like, it's just another scenario that makes me realize how important it can be.
Yeah, for sure. So, because you never missed any like long playing time or anything like that, right?
I missed like the very end of the that semester, but nothing where I needed to go through a long recovery and miss a lot of games. So I'm really lucky for that. But
that's very fortunate because I know a lot of athletes suffer with these injuries, and sometimes they're you can't prevent them, and sometimes they are preventable with proper training and proper nutrition. And it sucks, and it's just a huge mental battle to recover from that. So it's it's really good there. Okay, so just a couple other questions I have for you, right? If there's we kind of touched on this already, but if there's one piece of non-nutrition advice that you could give to a high school athlete, what would it be?
Your life doesn't have to be your sport. And of course, your sport is a big part of your life. But my teammate was actually talking about this the other day at the end of practice, and it just really stuck with me. And I've been thinking of it a lot lately. But she was like, softball is so full of failure. And, if you get a hit 3 out of 10 times in softball, like it's considered amazing. So anyway, but it's a sport where you're expected to fail. So a lot of times we can really get down on ourselves and say we have a bad practice. It's kind of hard to recover from that. You just kind of feel like you're a failure, like, oh, this is like why I'm at school. Like this is, such a big part of my life and I can't even do it right. And you just get really caught up in it. But she was saying that we all have such beautiful lives, and we've all done amazing things with our lives that doesn't involve softball at all. So that's just something everyone should remember, that there's just so much more and so many more beautiful parts of life that doesn't have to do with your sport. And you can focus on it, but just focus on the bigger picture in the end, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's a really good point, because we look at athletes, obviously as a pro athlete, it's your job, so it kind of is your life, but still it shouldn't be. And especially as a college athlete, it's not your job. It feels like it, but it's not. You have so much else going on. And it's so easy to get wrapped up in it. And when you look at the more, I guess, televised sports, right? So when you look at even like, especially like college football, college basketball, like these kids are in the media, everyone's tweeting about them, posting things about them. They mess up in a game and they're talking about it. And it's hard to not make the sport your life there, because it's all around you. And that's really important, right? It's separating it. And I remember one time, it was like Super Bowl like several years, like over 10 years ago, and it's the Giants beat Patriots. So I say remember that. And later that night there was like a video of, I think it was Gronk, like dancing at a club. Like he was like happy, like almost looked like he was celebrating. Everyone's like, just lost the Super Bowl. How are you like dancing and happy and all that? And other people stepped in and they were like, it's just a game. Yeah, it's a huge game. It's the Super Bowl. Everyone's watching it. But at the end of the day, that's not his whole life. Like, he's a football player on the field. Let him go live a life. Like, I'm sure he was upset. I'm sure he was sad, but like, let him live life. Right. And that's the idea. Exactly. Is we expect players, like after you lose, or if you strike out 3 times in a game, we expect you to just cry all night and until the next game. Right. And no, that's not what you're going to do. And I think that's a really valuable lesson, because I think young athletes also have so much pressure on them now, because, especially with recruiting starting freshman, sophomore year of high school, if you have one bad game at a tournament, you're like, oh my God, my life is over. But it's not, and you're going to bounce back. So I think that's good. And actually, you answered one of the next questions I was going to have, which is a valuable lesson that your sport has taught you about life. And you kind of talk about that, right? In softball and baseball, right? You are expected to fail 70% of the time, or if you fail 70% of the time, you're great. And I think that's a great life lesson. And, and that's what sports can teach us, right? Is you're not going to be perfect. You're going to mess up. And, you know, you could go 1 for 4 in a game, but that one hit could be a walk-off double.
Right.
And that's what you're going to remember, right? And that's the point about life, is you could have a horrible day, but there's probably at least one positive thing you can focus on, right? Maybe your day sucked, but you made a really nice dinner. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Focusing on that. So no, that's really helpful, because I think, again, a lot of athletes, they focus too much on their sport, which is good. It's good that you're dedicated, good that you're focused, but you need to enjoy life as well, especially as a young athlete, because it can consume you. And I'm sure you might have friends, you might have seen people like this, that they work so hard all their lives to become a D1 athlete, and then a year or two in, they give up because they just can't. Not that I don't want to say they can't handle the pressure anymore, because that's not fair to say, but it's they realize they just don't enjoy it anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you know anyone?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a lot of athletes that I know who they let it define them, and it causes burnout really quickly, because when your whole life revolves around that, it's just, you know, it's hard to focus on the things that in the end really matter. Like, of course your sport matters, but, you know, in the bigger picture, there's just more important things.
Yeah, no, that's a really good lesson. Okay, so couple unique questions I have for you, because again, you're in a unique situation where you are a D1 athlete who's also studying dietetics. So it's, you know, not a lot of dietetic majors out there, obviously not a lot of D1 athletes out there, so very unique. So I think you have some more unique insight you could provide. So first off, what made you want to major in dietetics in the first place? And did you actually decide that before college?
No, I didn't decide it before college. So
it's very common.
Yeah, I know. It kind of goes along with my story from earlier, where I was obsessed with working out and eating and everything. And so when I was in this phase of my life, I went into college not really knowing what I wanted to do, but I was leaning towards speech pathology, because I wanted to work with kids, like at a school, because I just really, I don't know, I just loved school all throughout my life, and I just like thought I wanted to continue working in a school, and I didn't want to be a teacher. So I learned about speech path, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So I studied that for a semester, and once I kind of started to realize the role that you know, nutrition played on, you know, just my life and my performance, and how much it improved those aspects, I really wanted to pass along the things that I learned to other athletes and just people in general. So I was kind of skeptical actually to change it, literally because of chemistry, like because of chemistry classes. Like I was like, oh, this is my true calling, but biochem. So like I didn't know what I wanted to do, and it took a while to decide, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna push through it. I'm gonna figure it out. Like, I feel like this is what I was meant to do. So yeah. So freshman year, going into the second semester, I switched to nutrition and dietetics.
Okay. Yeah, I was the same way. So I decided my senior year of high school. So I applied to college as a statistics major. And then, so I did have to change my major once I got there, but like on paper, but I knew going in, like before I stepped on campus, I knew I was going to be a dietetics major, but I was the same way, right? I wanted to do something in nutrition. I was assigned between kinesiology and dietetics. And I'm like, you know, I think dietetics can open up more options. And I looked at the course load. I was not expecting. I'm like, oh, nutrition, you're just learning about food, maybe how it works in the body. Like, and that the problem is that's what everyone else thinks, which is why they don't understand the complexity of being a registered dietitian. But yeah, I looked at it, I'm like, God, these bio classes, orgo, like I've never heard of this before. Biochem, like I wasn't that great at science in high school, right? Like bio was, you know, I was like a B student in biology, like didn't do honors or anything like that. I got A's in chem, but only because of the math, like, 'cause I'm really good at math, but the science part was hard. So, but again, never did like honors or AP there. then I'm like, you know what? It's basically what you said is, this is my calling. This is what I want to do. I'll tough it out. I'll push through it. And I actually love science now. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely growing on me too. I don't know. I've never been a science or math person, but
it's kind of like, because it has to grow on you. Because if you don't like it, then why are you here?
Yeah, honestly, it's
So,
just
yeah.
I just the nutrition part is interesting with science, but just
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would
Now
have
that you're in
never
junior year,
expected. Oh, sorry. You can go
now that
ahead.
you're in junior year, you're in the part where you're going to get more into the nutrition classes and seeing why you learned that science. So it becomes really fascinating. Like when you take advanced metabolism or whatever your school calls it, you get to see why you learned all these biology and all this biochemistry, and it starts to click really well. And I'm like, oh wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, exactly.
But you gotta be patient. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone is always like, what? Like, why, Kaitlyn, why are you in biochem? Like, what is nutrition? Like, why do you need biochem? Why do you need organic chem? And I'm like, I mean, it's not just like, I'm not just learning about food. It's like a lot more complicated than that. But
right. And that's why it gets annoying when you get like comments on social media, be like, dietitians think so highly of themselves, or dietitians think they know everything. It's such an easy major, such an easy profession. And like, all right, let's see you sit through these biochem classes. Like, it's a lot more, like, people just think it's how you eat, right? Because that's, people like to simplify it, but there's a lot of what we learn as dietitian is for the clinical setting too, which most people wouldn't want to work in anyway. So like, as not a dietitian, but so actually, with that said, what is your goal with dietetics, or like being a dietitian? Like, what do you want to do, obviously after college, after the internship, all that?
Well, ultimately I want to be a sports dietitian, and I would like to be one at a college, or maybe in a professional setting if I'm, really dreaming. But I definitely want to be one at a college, and I want to like really make a difference at that college and focus, like have athletes focus on nutrition and make the nutrition program actually, a part of that school, because there's so many programs. Like, for example, our dietitian is based out of Ascension St. Vincent in Indy. So she's not even here. She's only here like 1 month out of the year. And I don't know. Ideally, I want to like truly make an impact on athletes and not, not be at a distance. Like, I want to be hands-on, like making connections and like developing relationships with athletes. And yeah.
That's big. Yeah. I think at this point, I'm pretty sure every Power 5 school has at least one full-time dietitian, probably two. And then a lot of the group of 5 schools are starting to get them, and a couple of FCS schools. So like it goes in stages. So like, like you guys have the one that kind of works through the other place, which in a few years might become like a full-time consultant, or usually the next step is you hire one full-time that just does football and then like consults with the other sports, and then you build it from there. But yeah, obviously I've seen you work a lot. I've seen what you do. Everything you said that you want to do, I know you can. I know you could build a program. You got it. And plus, having the experience as a D1 athlete helps a lot, because you can relate to them better. That was one of the struggles I had with working at the college level. Is I knew a lot about sports. Like, I could talk sports all day, but I never was a D1 athlete, so I couldn't fully relate. So I had to learn a lot there. But no, it's a fun career. It's long, because it's you go through all this. You're going to go through college, you're going to go through grad school, the internship, and then it's almost like starting over again, because you have to work as an intern or fellow at those levels, and working up. But it's very rewarding. It's a lot of fun, especially as like a former athlete. You get that team camaraderie. Like, one of the things with owning a business, it's like, it's great, right? I work with athletes all over the world, but I'm not part of a team, right? Their victories are kind of my victories, but at Duke and Georgia, like when we won, like I felt part of that, which is a great feeling. So actually, next question kind of related to that. Now, I don't know if you have plans to go pro in softball or not, but let's say if you don't go pro, would you still want to be involved in the game of softball as a career, like in any way, like as a coach, maybe even dietitian for the softball team? Like,
it would be great if I could be a dietitian for the softball team. I think that would be so much fun. I don't think I would go into the coaching route. I absolutely love softball and everything, but I just don't think, that's my calling. I think I'm a player, and then I'm okay until like maybe if I have kids and they play softball, maybe then I'll be a coach, but nothing too serious.
Yeah. would you coach your kids like little league softball?
Yeah, I would. Maybe not little league, maybe like travel ball when they're a little more advanced. I'm
Yeah.
not patient enough to do the little league.
I was gonna say, like, I wouldn't be able to, like, when I was in high school for community service for what's it, NHS, I did
Yeah.
I coached like 7th and 8th grade basketball because that's like the oldest level you could coach. And like
Uh-huh.
that was a little hard. I'm like, there's no way I could coach younger kids. And I just can't imagine playing at the highest level, like as you are, then going coaching like 5 or 6 year olds, like in T-ball. Like it'd be too hard. Like I know you have
Yeah.
patience, but that's a little bit much because but it's no, it's good to get involved like that. And yeah, it's that's what's I always see hard with athletes is it's so much of your life that you're 22 and all of a sudden it's done. And with certain sports, you can kind of continue it, right? Like you could play Sunday league rec softball and you're going to obviously kill it there because you're playing against other, adults that never played like at a high level, but there's always like rec leagues you can do. The one thing I always found sad is the one sport I think is really football because you're never going to put pads on again.
Right. Yeah.
Because you're just not going to play tackle football. Like you might play tackle football in the park, but it's never going to be quite the same. But it's a good thing is kind of, like you said, not identifying and making the sport your life. But at the same time, it's like, you said you started at 4 years old. So by the time you stop playing, it's going to be 18 years of your life that softball took up. And it's going to be big. So, but that's good that you have that plan set out for you. And that's good because I think a lot of athletes, especially the young athletes, are so focused on playing the sport in college. And a lot of them, I think, do realize they're not going to go pro. Like chance going pro are very, very slim.
Yeah.
And it's realizing there's more. That's why you got to realize there's more to life than your sport because one day you're going to graduate and it's the real world.
Yeah, I would say the reason I'm content with not coaching or sticking to softball once I'm finally done is because I look at softball as something that has definitely not softball hasn't shaped me into who I am, but obviously the memories and the people I've met, the lessons I've learned, that's what shaped me into who I am. And I can always carry that with me, even if I'm not necessarily playing the sport. And, it'll always be the memories I've made will always be a huge part of my family and our lives. And we'll always get to reflect on that. And, I think that's enough to take with me in the end. So.
For sure. No, that's good. It's a really, really positive message there. Cool. All right. So actually, this was your idea to add into this. So some fun rapid fire questions.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot. Yeah. So we're gonna do that a little bit. Then I have we're gonna go through your pregame meal. So that's gonna be something we're gonna do in every episode of the podcast because again, nutrition related. And I think that's a big thing. So few rapid fire questions. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
All right. Morning or night person?
Morning, definitely.
Morning. Yeah. Do you feel like you have to be a morning person as an athlete, like especially in college?
You kind of have to make yourself a morning person. Yeah. I just genuinely like them because I just get tired at night. But yeah, you kind of have to make yourself a morning person.
Yeah. I've actually found that it's two very common traits among dietitians are being morning people and being type A, or at least mostly type A personality. The type A makes sense because there's a lot of organization that is required to become a dietitian just to plan out all your courses and figure it out and then everything else like to make sense. Okay. And then this one, so this one actually I can see varying a lot by sport, but would you rather play in the heat, like 80, 90 degrees or in the extreme cold, like 30 or 40?
I'm always going to pick heat. Always.
Me too. Yeah. I'm the same way. I hate the cold so much, and it sucks because it's like 30 degrees outside right now.
Oh yeah, I know.
But yeah, it's the cold, especially in certain sports. Like you can't, like in softball, you can't really bundle up while you're out there. In the dugout you can, but you can't wear gloves on your hands. You have the one glove, but you can't wear a glove on your other hand. You can't really wear like you can't really wear a beanie, right? You can maybe cover your ears, but yeah,
man, and it stings. Like when you hit the ball, it stings. When you catch the ball, it stings. But it's rough. And then it's also, I mean, you're not necessarily running around in softball. Like I feel like cross country athletes will probably be like, oh, cold every day. But me, no. Like we're just kind of standing out there, and it gets really cold. So
Well, the hard part with running, like cross country, is once you're running, yeah, you don't want to be bundled up, but for races and
Yeah,
things like that, you're standing around. Like when we did the turkey
right.
trot on Thanksgiving,
True.
it was 32 degrees. And I had learned from last year, I'm not wearing sweatpants, I'm not wearing a sweatshirt because I was
Yeah.
dying during the run. So I was in shorts and a long sleeve shirt, and we're standing around for 30 or 40 minutes before the race. And I'm like so cold, but I'm like, this is going to be worth it once we start running.
Yeah. It'll feel good.
But yeah, you're right. Standing around in the cold is terrible. I remember I played catcher, so I wasn't as bothered by the cold, but I still hated it. But I remember catching one time and it was like 90 degrees and I was just buckets of sweat. Yeah. But it's yeah. Cool. All right. So yeah, final question I have for you. I think as a dietetics major, again, this can be very helpful for a lot of people. What is your go-to pregame meal?
Okay, so I kind of have two answers because for home games, I have a different one than for away games.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
due to just accessibility, So at home, I'm probably going to go with I really like to have a sweet and savory bagel. So like split in half and one half is avocado, one half is peanut butter with banana, and then some eggs and some fruit. Um I have a long time like to digest and everything before my game. So we usually play at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. So I'll eat breakfast and then we'll go to the field, warm up, and we have a snack bin in the dugout. So we'll just snack the whole time, and then lunch will be between games. So I have a little bit of time. So I can kind of get in a bigger meal before. So that's what I like to eat when I'm at home. And then during away games and like in a hotel, I'll eat the eggs, like as long as they're not too sus, like hotel eggs. If they look okay, I'll eat them. And then with some either a pancake or waffle, or pancakes or waffle with some peanut butter and syrup, and then just some fruit, whatever fruit they have there, and then coffee. I always have coffee.
Always coffee. Yeah. Yeah. So that's an interesting one. How much coffee do you drink before a game?
Like a probably usually just a cup, maybe like another half cup, like refill.
Okay.
Nothing like crazy, but
like shortly before a game, or is it like several hours before?
No, it's like with breakfast. So several hours, I would say, before.
Sorry. Yeah, because I always talk about caffeine and sports, right? Because obviously caffeine gives you energy, decreased perceived exertion, but timing, tolerance, and the amount is huge because you don't want to have a lot of caffeine before a sport like softball or baseball, because you make you a little jittery. So like your accuracy can be thrown off. So like throwing from the outfield into the infield, right? You maybe throw accuracies off a little bit. When you're hitting, you might throw you off a little bit precision. But so when I say that, people are like, but I see athletes drink coffee before a game all the time. Yeah, when I say don't drink caffeine before a game, I'm saying like don't chug pre-workout or like an energy drink right before the game starts. As someone who drinks coffee every day, having 1 to 2 cups of coffee several hours before a game, that's not going to make you jittery and that's not going to throw you off. So I just want to make that clear for everyone listening that that is okay. But you're chugging like a 32-ounce coffee an hour before the game, you might have some issues. So
right.
Well, no, that's a very, very, very helpful. Well, all right, yeah. Again, thank you for coming on. You gave a lot of valuable insight. I learned a lot. Sure, everyone listening is going to learn a lot as well. Is there anything else that you want to add, or any questions for me that you wanted to ask?
I don't have any questions for you. I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. And I hope if anyone, can take something from this, it would just be, focus on the bigger picture in life. Don't focus too much on how you feel like your sport defines you. Eat for performance, not for looks. And that's pretty much it. I had a really good time.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for coming on. Again, everyone, this is Kaitlyn Mathews, a softball player at Ball State University. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Again, you can stream this on podcasts on iTunes and Spotify. If you want to watch the podcast, you can also go to my YouTube channel. I'll provide all the information in the description. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kaitlyn, and stay tuned for the next episode.